Once upon a time, in a kingdom that has long since crumbled into dust and memory, there was a forest that did not behave as a forest should. It was not merely a collection of trees. It was a living, breathing entity, a closing throat that swallowed the light, the sound, and finally, the king himself. You see, this king had ridden out as a predator, a master of the hunt, atop a stallion of war. He was chasing a beast so fleet and strange that his entire entourage had vanished behind him, swallowed by the green gloom. But as the sun died behind the canopy, the thrill of the chase curdled into a cold, creeping dread. The silence was total. No birds sang, no branches creaked. It was a silence that watched. Desperate, the king turned his horse in circles, finding no path, until a figure emerged from the shadows. She was an old woman, her head bobbing with a palsied rhythmic tremor, her spine bent like a birch in a gale. She was a witch. The king knew it in his marrow, for the air grew cold around her. But he was a desperate man, and desperation is the father of poor bargains. "Good woman," he called, his voice sounding thin in the heavy air, "can you show me the way out of this wood?" The crone paused, her head still nodding. "Oh yes, my lord king," she croaked, her voice like dry leaves skittering on stone. "But I have a price. Refuse, and you shall die here, encircled by these trees until hunger takes you." "Name it," the king demanded, his hand trembling on the reins. "I have a daughter," the witch smiled, revealing blackened gums. "She is fair, the fairest in the world. Take her as your bride, crown her your queen, and the path will open." Terror gripped him, but the fear of a slow death in the dark was stronger. He agreed. The crone led him to a hovel that seemed to grow out of the earth itself, a blister upon the forest floor. Inside, by a dying fire, sat the daughter. The witch had not lied. The girl was agonizingly beautiful, with hair like spun midnight. Yet as she looked up, her eyes held no warmth, only a jagged, ancient sharpness. The king felt a shudder ripple through his soul, a primal warning he chose to ignore. He pulled her onto his horse, the path miraculously cleared, and he rode for his life, carrying his doom back to the castle. The wedding was grand, filled with gold and wine, but the king's heart remained in the shadows. He had been married before, a pure love that had left him with 7 treasures, 6 sons and 1 daughter. Fearful of his new bride's cold gaze, a gaze that seemed to peel the skin from his bones, he spirited his children away to a lonely, hidden castle deep in the heart of the wildest woods. It was a sanctuary so concealed that the king himself could only find it with a magic clue of yarn, a silver thread that unrolled before him, snake-like, hissing through the grass to guide his way. He visited them often, drinking in their laughter to wash away the chill of his new marriage. But secrets in a palace are like blood in water. They draw predators. The new queen, stung by his absences, let her jealousy fester into a poison. It was the vice of envy, thick and choking. She bribed the servants, she threatened the guards, and finally she discovered the secret of the silver yarn. A dark excitement took her. She sewed 6 little shirts of white silk, stitching ancient, wicked charms into the hems, a craft learned from her mother in the dark woods. As she sewed, she whispered words that no human tongue should know, binding malice into the very weave of the cloth. One morning, when the king rode out to hunt, she took the yarn and followed the silver path. In the hidden castle, the children saw a figure approaching through the mist. "Father!" they cried, tumbling out of the gates, their faces bright with joy. But it was not their father. The queen stepped forward, her face a mask of malice, and threw the silk shirts over the 6 boys. The magic was instantaneous and violent. It was not a gentle change. Their bodies contorted, bones snapping and reshaping with sickening crunches. Their arms shattered and extended into vast white wings. The boys vanished, and in their place, 6 magnificent swans shrieked at the sky and flew away, disappearing over the tree line. The queen returned home satisfied that her rivals were gone, but she had miscounted. The little sister had not run out. The next day, the king found the castle silent as a tomb, save for his weeping daughter. "Gone," she choked out. "My brothers, they are swans now. They flew away and left me." She showed him the white feathers scattered on the courtyard stones, the only remnants of his sons. The king wept, blind to the true culprit, terrified that his daughter would be next.
"Come to the palace."
"Come," he said. "I will take you to the palace." "No," she whispered, terrified of the stepmother she instinctively feared. "Let me stay one more night." That night she fled. The castle, the safety, the father she loved. She left it all. She walked into the black throat of the forest to find her brothers. She walked until her feet bled and her spirit frayed. On the second evening she found a rude hut. Inside were 6 small beds. She was too fearful to sleep in them, so she crawled beneath one, curling tight against the hard floor. At sunset, the air thrummed with the beating of wings. 6 swans flew in through the window, landing heavily. They blew upon one another, and their feathers fell away like snow, followed by their swan skins, peeling off like shirts. Her brothers stood there, human, but only for a moment. She scrambled out, tears streaming. "Brothers!" They held her, but their faces were grim. "You cannot stay," the eldest said, his eyes filled with a sorrow beyond his years. "This is a robber's den. If they find you, they will kill you, and we cannot protect you." "Why?" she pleaded. "We are cursed," he said, his voice heavy. "We have only 15 minutes of humanity each evening, then the feathers return." "Is there no cure?" she asked, grabbing his hands. "I will do anything. I will walk to the ends of the earth." "It is too hard," he warned. "For 6 years you must not speak, you must not laugh, and in that silence you must sew 6 shirts made of starflowers, asters. If a single word leaves your lips before the 6 years are up, we are lost forever." As he spoke, the time expired. Their skin hardened, white feathers erupted from their flesh, and 6 swans flew shrieking out into the night. The sister did not hesitate. Here was the virtue of sacrifice, blooming in the dark. She left the hut, climbed high into a great tree to escape the wolves, and began her vigil. She gathered the purple star flowers and began to sew. No words, no laughter, just the needle, the thread, and the silence. Years blended into one another. She sat in the tree, a silent spirit of the woods. The asters were brittle and tough. Her fingers became stained green and purple, calloused and bleeding. The wind bit her skin, the rain soaked her to the bone, but she did not weep aloud. She sewed. One day, a hunting party thundered beneath her. The king of this new land looked up and saw her, a wild, silent beauty amidst the leaves. "Who are you?" he called. She said nothing. His huntsman climbed the tree, bringing her down. She did not fight, but she did not speak. Captivated by her ethereal beauty and the mystery in her eyes, the king wrapped his cloak around her.
She
will be
is the one,
my
he declared.
queen.
She will be my queen. He took her to his castle, dressing her in silks that rivaled the dawn. But still she was silent. She did not smile. She only sowed the star flowers, her fingers moving with desperate urgency. But where there is light, there is shadow. The king's mother was a woman of venom, hating this silent stranger from the woods. "A mute forest brat," she spat. "She is not worthy." A year passed. The young queen gave birth to a son. That night, the wicked mother-in-law stole the babe, hiding him away, and while the queen slept, she smeared the poor girl's mouth with fresh pig's blood. "Look!" shrieked the crone the next morning. "She is a monster! She has eaten her own child!" The king, blinded by love, refused to believe it. "She is innocent," he commanded. The queen, bound by her vow, could not speak to defend herself. She only looked at him with eyes full of sorrow and continued to sew the aster shirts. A second child was born. The same horror unfolded: the blood, the accusation, the missing babe. The king wavered but held on to his love. But when the third child vanished, and the old woman pointed a bony finger at the blood-smeared mouth of the mute queen, the king's council rose up. "She must be judged," they cried. "She is a beast in human skin." The king, broken and weeping, could no longer save her. She was sentenced to burn. The day of the execution dawned gray and heavy. It was the very last day of the 6th year. The air tasted of ash before the fire was even lit. The queen was led to the courtyard. She did not struggle. In her arms, she clutched the bundle of gray-purple shirts. She had finished 5. The 6th was done, save for the left sleeve. Her time had run out. They tied her to the stake. The wood was piled high. The executioner approached with a torch, the fire hungering for her flesh. The crowd jeered. The wicked mother-in-law grinned, a rictus of triumph. The queen looked to the sky. "Please," she prayed in the silence of her mind, "let it be enough." And then the sound came. A rushing wind, a beating of mighty wings that drowned out the jeers of the crowd. "Look!" screamed a peasant. 6 white swans dove from the crowds, circling the pyre, driving the executioner back with the force of their descent. They landed around her, necks craned, hissing at the guards like dragons of snow and fury. With a sob of pure relief, the queen threw the starflower shirts over them. The magic broke with a sound like cracking thunder. The swanskins dissolved. Where the birds had stood, 6 young men now rose, naked and blinking in the light. Her brothers, restored. All but the youngest. Because the 6th shirt lacked a sleeve, he stood tall and human, but his left arm remained a great white swan's wing. The queen, the vow fulfilled, opened her mouth. Her throat was dry, her voice raspy from 6 years of silence, but it rang with the bell tone of truth.
"I am innocent."
"My king," she said, "I am innocent." She told him everything: the curse, the silence, the stolen children. The brothers stood as her witnesses, living proof of her sacrifice. The king, overcome with shame and joy, fell to his knees before her. The 3 stolen children were found where the crone had hidden them, safe and sound. The wicked mother-in-law was seized. There was no mercy for her. She was bound to the very stake she had built for the innocent, and the fire intended for the queen consumed her instead, reducing her malice to ash. Peace returned to the kingdom. The king and his queen, surrounded by the 6 brothers, lived a life of warmth and laughter, honoring the silence that had saved them all. And often the youngest brother would walk in the gardens, his great white wing folded against his side, a beautiful, permanent reminder of the love that had saved them all. And they lived happily ever after.